Hey everybody, I'm Julie and this is MJ Hobby Corner. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Hey Julie, WTF? On today's episode, we're going to further explore Malifaux 1.5. It's going to be a good one. Before we hop into the fluff and get all fluffy, I just wanted to say, just wanted to apologize that it's taken so long for me to get this video going and out to you. Hopefully I will be able to be more consistent in the future, but I am working on it. There's some stuff, I've been dealing with some stuff health-wise, but hopefully it'll start improving. So that being said, I have this for you today. I think it's going to be a good one. I hope you agree. Today we are going to mainly talk about, it's mainly about one, it's more character specific, I guess, this story. So we'll be talking about Rasputina. She's a really cool character, and she's an Arcanist. So we will also discuss, what it means to be an Arcanist, and then we will hop into the story. And the story is called, I think it's called Secrets Within. I'll double check it in a second when we get to it. But we're going to be hopping into that. And we'll also be discussing a little bit of Philip Toomer's, because he's a part of the story, and his journal entries specifically. We'll be reading those as well. So let's get fluffy, shall we? The Arcanists. The city of Malifaux is thick with magical energies. Those newly arrived in the city often describe an electric feeling in the air, making the hairs on the back of their necks stand up. Almost all residents of the city develop some small ability to manipulate this energy, usually manifesting as minor magical abilities. A small number will display noteworthy powers that represent a threat to the guild presence in Malifaux. These individuals have been labeled Arcanists, and the guild expends significant resources in hunting these dangerous men and women, dedicating their witch hunter task force to eliminating this unpredictable rogue element. The witch hunters have not proven very popular with the citizens of Malifaux. Each man and woman is viewed with suspicion by the guild, and even the most minor display of magical talent can result in unexpected midnight raids. It is unknown what happens to those taken by the guild. Everyone has their theories, none of them very kind to the guild. Occasionally, a fledgling Arcanist will succeed in driving off or evading the witch hunters. These cases always result in significant newspaper coverage, sparking the collective imaginations of every Malifaux citizen. These individuals are able to do what the common man is unable to do, to spit in the eye of the guild. Of those few that rise to fame, their flames are often short-lived. There are very few options for a man on the run in Malifaux. Civilization is a very small place there, with few places to hide unless a person is willing to brave the world's wilds outside the city. The shackles of the guild may be a kinder fate. Hunted, these individuals often run straight into the arms of the Union. The Miners and Steamfitters Union is an organization that represents the interests of the labor class in Malifaux, primarily concerned with the well-being of those that mine soulstone. It also represents any ancillary professions, such as those that operate and maintain the steam engines used to pump water from mines and drive the heavy machinery necessary for efficient mining. Founded by Dr. Ramos, the union maintains offices in several places throughout Malifaux and the surrounding towns. Unknown to the large majority of its members, these offices also serve as safe houses for runaway Arcanists. Utilizing this network, Ramos and other established Arcanists are able to recruit new talent into a highly structured criminal organization. Behind the legitimate face of the Union is a society of professional criminals. This organization is responsible for several high-profile raids on guild property and maintains a lucrative soulstone smuggling operation. New members are usually put to work on petty crimes, giving them an opportunity to demonstrate their loyalty to the organization. Because the union receives overwhelming public support, and because union laborers exist in almost every aspect of Malifaux business and industry, the guild finds it extremely difficult to fight these criminals. Where'd I go? The guild struggles with strong negative public opinion, while charismatic and daring Arcanists are viewed as folk heroes. Every successful heist is celebrated quietly in the saloons and union halls, away from the ears of the guild. To the citizens of Malifaux, Arcanists are a modern-day Robin Hood and his merry men. The reality, however, may be closer to an underground crime syndicate. To the guild, they are simply terrorists. In recent months, Arcanist activity has escalated dramatically. The scope of their operations has become ever more ambitious, even striking into the heart of Malifaux itself, into the mansion of the Governor General. The extent of the damage caused and what assets were targeted is unknown, but what is clear is that the Arcanist organization is establishing itself as a major power in Malifaux. To the population of Malifaux, the Arcanists represent the power to reclaim the fruits of their own labors. The Arcanists' true agenda, however, seems to be profit and power. So that is the Arcanists. Now let me describe Rasputina to you, and then we'll talk about that a little. I'm not sure if we'll talk about that right after or not, but I have some things to say about that. Anyway, Rasputina is an example of the meteoric rise one can achieve when exposed to the opportunities that Malifaux provides. She was brought to the city, like thousands of others, as convict labor. Her sentence was purchased by the guild, and she was deferred from incarceration to serve in the salon houses of Malifaux instead. Difficult to tame, Rasputina was placed into a chain gang where she labored at breaking rocks in an attempt to break her spirit. How she became associated with the entity known as December has not been determined, but through some pact she was granted dramatic control over the weather of this world. A swirling storm of snow and sleet can now answer her fury. The power of winter served her whim, and even enabling her escape from guild custody. On her own and on the run, she found herself at the welcoming hearth of the Arcanists. These sorcerers, through their close association with the Miners and Steamfitters Union, have easy access to valuable soulstone. In exchange for these sources of power, Rasputina lends her skills to the Arcanist cause. Though Rasputina is formally associated with the Arcanists, her independence and quest for power drive her actions. She possesses knowledge of Malifaux and this world that few people will ever demonstrate. She even commands the obedience of a mysterious tribe of feral men living in the nearby mountains. Well, that's interesting. I happen to like Rasputina. I think that she's a pretty cool character. So that's Rasputina. All right, and the Arcanists. Now, next we will hop right into the fluff of the story, right? Let me find it. Okay, Secrets Within. That's the name of the story. Okay. I think we should read the story and then I'll read the journal entries. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So, here we go. Well, actually, before we get started, grab a snack, grab a drink, whatever you like. And as you can see, I've got Simon over here. He's always in here when I'm doing this because he loves it. I think he loves it when I read. So, there we go. There's Simon. He's all ready. And Mr. Simone. So, grab a paintbrush. I know some of you in my comments have said that you like to work on your projects and paint and so forth while you listen, which I think is awesome. So, yeah, grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a paintbrush, and let's get fluffy. Here we go. Rasputina couldn't help but smile when she saw Leviticus and Alice standing across the platform from her. The two of them were made for each other, she thought, despite the wide difference in their ages. Very few people had been kind to Rasputina since her arrival in the city. The guild was notoriously cruel to its convict labor. She reminded herself that she had resolved to repay those two for their kindness when she had the means. She noted, too, the fresh-faced woman in the striking red cape that conversed with them. The sword in its beautiful scabbard at her hip drew Rasputina's attention. The sight of it gave her a sudden chill down her spine, for reasons that she couldn't explain. All around Rasputina, mining labor had gathered, waiting to board the train to Ridley Station, where they would then depart for their respective work sites to begin their shifts in the mines. Their impoverished appearance contrasted with the opulence of Malifaux Station. The facade that the richly ornate train station tried to sell to incomers bore little relation to Malifaux as these rugged laborers knew it. Jostled out of her momentary distraction, Rasputina joined the flood of workers who climbed aboard the train. Unlike the cars which were reserved for privileged guests to Malifaux, the cars that serviced the labor class were bare and utilitarian, filled with hard wooden benches and steel floors. Rasputina took a seat by one of the windows and looked into the platform as it emptied. Now cleared of all the dusty workers, the station returned to a sparkling icon of Malifaux riches. Though impressive, she only considered the empty platform for a moment. Reaching into her coat, she drew out the small leather-bound journal she had taken from Philip Toomer's body. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Where was I now? Its worn pages were well used. Worked into the letter on the cover were the words, "The Philosophy of Uncertainty." The meaning, if there was one, escaped her. In Philip's final days, she knew he had suffered from a madness. She took the phrase to be the product of an ailing mind and prepared herself for the likelihood of more as she opened the book. Philip Toomers was a graduate student. He had traveled to Malifaux accompanying his professor, Dr. Hyland, as part of a research group pursuing a new field of study he referred to as meta-anthropology. Rasputina thumbed through the pages, which detailed his journey west by rail and his impressions of the city of Malifaux. His notes included finely detailed sketches of almost everything he encountered, from the most mundane objects like the rail car he rode in to the most fantastic, such as a brilliant rendering of the breach. She stopped flipping when she came upon the image she was looking for, and glanced furtively around to make sure no one else was looking. The car was crowded, but each passenger might have been alone for all the interest they took in one another. She returned to the journal. Philip had done an incredible job in capturing the structure on paper. It rose from a lake of black water with tall spires reaching towards the sky. The ruins looked like a dying spider on its back, its crooked legs held in a tight rictus. Philip called the ruins Kythera, a name arising from Dr. Hyland's final words. All about the sketch, in a swirling cloud of maddened letters, were inked the words, "Till Gran Kythera Dao," repeated over and over. Rasputina's fingers brushed the page, feeling the indentations in the paper where his pen had scored the words over and over, the textures of his madness. Okay, so that, wait a minute, no, not done. Hang on, sorry. Okay. She whispered the words to herself with a sense of foreboding, as if they were the components of some ancient spell. Till Gran Kythera Dao. There was magic in this world, and despite her soft whisper, those words hung heavy in the air. The miner sitting next to her shifted in his seat, pushing a few inches away from her. The page opposite the drawing was crowded with words. As the train rattled beneath her, Rasputina read from the journal, curious for real information about Kythera, about her ultimate destination. Rasputina didn't know what she would find there. To her, it seemed that Philip Toomers had a penchant for the dramatic. He also had an inclination for very detailed notes. The maps and diagrams that he penned in this book will lead her to that place. She gazed out to the east, lost in thought. The train began to slow. Around her, the open plains became let's try that again, shall we? The train began to slow. Around her, the open plains became studded with small buildings as the engine made the approach to Ridley Station. With its dilapidated structures surrounded by wilderness, the place couldn't be more different to Malifaux Station. As for what lay beyond, on the way to Kythera, she could not begin to imagine. So there's the story, okay? But now I'm going to read to you the journal entries that she refers to, or the journal entry she refers to, so that you know what she read as she's going into Ridley Station to make her way to Kythera. I have a lot to say about this actually, but let me read that journal entry to you first. Okay, so here we go. Top. Professor Hyland, I heard you. I will never forget your words. Till Gran Kythera Dao. They are the words that haunt me. So much do I fear that their meaning will be revealed to me. They are, no doubt, a revelation that would fracture my mind. My certainty of this lies in the sound of your cry. You spoke those words, not in pain or in fright, but in madness. It was the cry of a man who had discovered something so terrible that sanity could not survive. I feel compelled to write of this place. It is the only subject my mind seems willing to consider. My memory of it is so vivid, and in the weeks since I left there, I've analyzed each image in my mind with such clarity I never knew. The world beyond that place, beyond Kythera, has ceased to exist for me. Reality seems as if viewed through the filter of a dream. Only Kythera is real to me. Perhaps I died there and am now a spirit unable to rest, haunting an infirm world, viewing it through the veil of death. If I am not dead, it is no matter. My life ended the moment those words were spoken. At his cry, the runes responded. The tall spires that stretched above the sunken ruins were not stone, but clusters of cogs and levers. These nested together in a way that made a joke of geometry. Each part bore inscription in lettering unknown to us. Each spire reached high on one end and on the other disappeared into the inky waters of the bayou, where the metal was decayed by the caustic waters of the swamp. The spires numbered 7 and stood in a circle around a dark pool. At Dr. Hyland's cry, the waters began to churn. Mechanisms long submerged spun to life. The spires themselves, constructed of gears with teeth long broken, were suddenly animate, moving in spite of the condition of their parts. The pillars pushed away from the pool and opened to the sky, their movements accompanied by the grinding scream of gears that protested their motion. Dr. Hyland, I pray that his death was quick. Perched as he was atop one of those great spires, he fell into the churning water and was pulled beneath the surface. The machine, for that is what this ruin is, a machine of great scale and great complexity, was sated by Dr. Hyland's death. His body consumed by the water. The machine stilled. Only the cries of my fellows sounded in the swamp. The description I give here cannot explain the terror or wonder of that sight. The madness that gripped my fellows in the moments after are much more telling. They wept and tore at their hair. In their horror, they beat at their chests and ripped their clothes and flesh. Few could recall what had happened, their minds unwilling to contemplate the memory of that event. Why my mind refuses to leave that moment, petrified forever in that frozen moment of terror, I do not know. We must all deal with horror in our own way. I am jealous of the mercy visited upon my fellows. If this journal survives beyond my death, survives where my sanity fails, I warn all to be clear of that place. I know what exists beneath that pool. It is death. So though that's the journal entry that Rasputina was reading, and now she is at Ridley Station about to embark on her way to Kythera. So let's talk about this for a minute, shall we? In the beginning of the story, I spoke of a woman in red, a red cape. We're going to get into that next time, I believe. And we'll explain, you'll understand better who that person is, and their story and what the deal is. So just keep note of that. If you recall, in the I think it was the last video, if you recall, there was someone fighting with Seamus, right, for for Philip Toomer's body, and that was Rasputina. I don't know if you figured that out yet, but in case you haven't, there it is. That was Rasputina. So now we know that Rasputina really just wanted the journal, right? So she took that and whatever. So I just wanted to mention that too, in case nobody noticed that. We'll get more into the Victor Ramos, who is the Dr. Ramos, who is an Arcanist and is the head of the Miners and Steamfitters Union. We'll get more into that too. Let me know what you thought of the story. Let me know what you think of Rasputina. I really would like to know. I need you guys to let me know what you would like to see, and I probably will do a poll on this as well. Would you like to see me continue with Malifaux, because there's a lot more to talk about, or put that on rest, pause that for a little bit, and try something different, talk about a different game. So if you would like me to do that, let me know. Put it in the comments. I appreciate you watching more than you know. And actually, I appreciate your comments more than you know, because it's encouraging for me. And I will try to make sure the next one is, doesn't take so long for me to get to. Thanks again. And from Simone and myself, I will see you next time.